Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We'll call this meeting to order. So does anyone has any disclosures of pecuniary interest in general nature thereof? None noted. We'll move on to the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the ground on which we live is the traditional territory of Caldwell First Nation of the Three Fires Confederacy and the original people of Point Pelee and Pelee Island and its surrounding lands and waters, and that of the Huron-Wendat and Wyandot peoples. We recognize and respect the First Nations who are stewards of the land and waters of Turtle Island and who have embraced this stewardship since time immemorial. We would also like to acknowledge the contributions of other nearby First Nation communities and all the original people across Turtle Island. Moving on to the agenda of today. So the Court of Revision's agenda dated January 11th, 2023 be approved as circulated, including any items added to the agenda. So the purpose of the Court of Revisions is to hear appeals to the charges being assessed to individual property owners as outlined in the schedule of assessment contained in the engineer's report for the repair and improvement of the St. Michael's Drain. Submissions related to the technical merits of the engineer's report are not permitted. The sitting of the Court of Revision is pursuant to the engineer's report prepared by Rood Engineering Incorporated, dated July 26, 2023. And Michael Capucci, Manager of Engineering, will introduce General Rood and any comments. And I know that he's joining us via Zoom, so he will be available for any further discussions and needs. Yes.
Can we please get a motion for the adoption of the agenda?
Yeah, absolutely. I apologize.
Section 4?
Yes, yes, I apologize. Yes. Okay. Can I get a motion here for this agenda?
A motion to accept the current agenda.
Okay. And you second it? Can somebody second it?
I'll second it.
Okay. Thank you. I apologize. Yep. Alrighty. So moving on. So the list of the appeals, current appeals, we have Douglas Williams Livergood, 1681 Drural Road, Windsor. Summary of appeal: unable to build on assessed lots due to environmental protections and no road access. The withdrawn appeals: William Poon of 875 Laurier Drive, LaSalle. Michael Solongo, 1551 Bouffard Road, LaSalle. Mike and Wanda Bernon, 1547 Bouffard Road. Darlene Height, 6585 Matchett Road. All these appellants are invited to present their case. Well, so we had a number of them that were withdrawn. We only have the one for tonight. And I'd like to invite Mr. Douglas William Livergood to state their case and before the court. Yes, go ahead, Michael.
Hi, yes, through you. I just wanted to say obviously Gerard here is to answer any appeals that we have. I believe he's reviewed them all. He'll be able to comment on them or any other questions that the court may have regarding the appeals brought forth today. Obviously, this is regarding the St. Michael's Drain. Lastly, regarding the appeal in question from, what's the gentleman's name? Douglas. Yep, Livergood. In his appeal, he had three roll numbers. The third one, ending in 07200, is not within this drainage boundary. So we only have the number 1 and number 2 rolls. And I guess I can hand it off to Gerard to address this appeal.
Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
So the town staff had provided a response to Mr. Levergood about his appeals. And we're generally in agreement with the response that was provided, that the issues are separate from the Drainage Act process and have no effect on his assessment or his responsibility to ensure that the water from his property has a viable outlet. The town let him know that the court will not discuss any issues regarding land uses, environmental issues, or anything else not pertaining to the Drainage Act. And despite this information, Mr. Levergood insisted that he would like to continue his appeal through the process. So my further detailing for this is that the Drainage Act provides for repair and improvements to drains. Impact to the adjacent lands will be minimized as set out in the drainage report. IRCA has advised the town that it's okay to proceed with the project and just need to get a permit from IRCA when construction works will be done on the project. So basically, we have addressed all of the required needs and requirements, and the work can proceed, even though Mr. Levergood raised some questions and concerns about his property being affected in the assessment. So hopefully that information that I provided now will help the members of the court understand that there's no valid appeal that he has submitted, and that we are responsible to proceed under the Drainage Act, and we have all clearances and approvals on the concerns that he had raised about doing work on the drain and affecting the adjacent lands already cleared and approved by the Essex Region Conservation Authority. So my recommendation is just to have the Court of Revision members accept the drainage assessment schedule and proceed with adopting the overall drainage report that has already been cleared by the Essex Region Conservation Authority.
Okay, is that all that we have on this, this issue right here? Mr. Rood? Have you concluded, or is there further comments?
That basically concludes what presentation I have with regards to the items that he brought up on his appeal, that he was concerned about cut through and well, he mentions, I have not been allowed to alter or build on this land as it is a naturalist site due to snakes and certain plants. Yet now you can cut through it and destroy what you told me was protected. We're only using the access to the drain pursuant to the Drainage Act, that we have to properly maintain the drain and provide the necessary level of service to protect all of the lands that are served by the drain. He says, I can't even sell this property, but you can destroy it for the town's use. We are not destroying anything. We are only carrying out the maintenance work under the provisions of the Drainage Act, and that were cleared and approved by the Essex Region Conservation Authority. And the report provides for all of the other ministry requirements to protect habitat and mitigate any damages to the environment caused by having to do this maintenance work. And then I request a meeting so that I may at least be able to build on some of this land. That has nothing to do with this particular drainage report or an appeal under the Court of Revision. And he was advised just to contact the town if he needs to get further clarification on that aspect of being able to build on his lands, which is a totally separate matter from us being able to move ahead with the repairs and maintenance to the municipal drainage work pursuant to the provincial legislation under the Drainage Act.
Okay, thank you very much. So moving on to Mr. Levergood, as you heard Mr. Rood commenting on this as on your appeal. So if you would like to come forward and state some concerns that you might have, would love to hear from you. And if there's anyone else in the audience, in attendance, any owner or agent who wishes to speak on any withdrawn appeals, we'll also entertain that. And if there's anyone in the audience who wishes to come forward with a late appeal, we need the name only. But if I'll leave it to you, Mr. Livergood, after you heard all those concerns, if you want to come forward, we'll, for the sake of the minutes of this meeting, we would take that into account.
I don't believe he's here.
No, he's not?
I don't believe so.
Okay, I apologize. Okay, so we'll move forward then. There is no one else that is bringing anything to the attention of the court. So if there's any appeals were not made at least 10 days in advance, and in the court, and if the court agrees to hear the appeals, they will need to pass a resolution to allow them to be heard. The Court of Revisions agrees to hear from those in the audience who did not file an appeal and wish to address the court. None? Okay, we'll move on to the deliberation and decision. So the Court of Revision will announce the decision of the appeals, or will recess for deliberation. What do you guys would like to do as the court? Would you like to speak to it right here, or do you want to take it in private?
We can take it right here.
Okay, so we'll just take a minute. Is that okay?
Do any members of the court have any questions for our engineer or for Gerard Rube before you deliberate?
I've got one question. Mr. Root, could you, in the assessment of what it's going to cost to do the work on the property, was there due consideration given to the use of the land? And maybe you could explain what that due consideration was?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, whenever we calculate assessments, we follow the guidelines that are provided from the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture and Food. Benefit assessments are based on proximity of the land to the drainage works itself. And then the outlet liability is based on the amount of flows that they contribute, which is based on the current use of the lands or future use of the lands if the zoning or requirements that are there allow for development that will increase the runoffs. So they are assessed for the fact that they can use that drain fully for their drainage usage to take their water to a sufficient outlet as required under common law and the requirements of the Drainage Act. So we've given that all consideration, and we also looked at past information on the drainage works to help guide us in establishing proper and fair sharing. And our review at the end of the preparation of the assessment schedule appeared to show that the properties were generally all assessed appropriately and properly based on their size and expected potential runoff from the properties based on their use and zoning and their responsibilities for cost sharing on the overall drainage work.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, we'll just take. Okay, so the court decided to accept the decision and the schedule as is, and the report, Mr. Root's report. This falls beyond the jurisdictions of the Court of Revisions, and we're all in favor of this decision to stand as is. Can I get a motion to accept it and pass it?
I'll move the motion.
Okay. Yep. Okay, any second, Andrew?
I'll second that.
Okay, so the decision is that the appeal is dismissed as it does not apply to Section 52 of the Drainage Act and is outside the jurisdiction of the Court of Revisions. Thank you. That will conclude our meeting for today. I'd like to get a motion to move on the meeting and to close.
I'll put the motion forward to end today's meeting.
All right.
And I'll second it.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you all. Meeting adjourned.